Wow.
What are you guys talking about?
Nothing.
No, what are you guys talking about?
Hello,
Nothing.
welcome back. You're watching Trending SA on SABC3, a very, very professional program. We're also trending on trendingsa.tv. What I mean by trending is that we are streaming. Thank you. Tonight's guest is a political figure whose political awareness was awakened at a very, very young age. This would later evolve during his high school years, especially ignited around the time of the 1976 youth uprisings in Soweto. During this time, he also became a student at the University of Natal, where he wholeheartedly threw himself into the liberation struggle, both on campus and off. He would later go on to serve in the Limpopo Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC for 19 years before being elected to the ANC NEC, where he now serves as the Minister of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Honorable Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. We have two doctors here now.
Ish, it's tough.
Yeah.
When your boss is here,
Good evening, Doctor, and thank you so much for being here. We are very honored for you that you are here. Tell us about the Netherlands. We heard that you won amazing prizes. What were they for, these prizes that you received?
Thank you, Kuli. The two prizes I received, the Cochon prizes.
Yes.
Yes, these are prizes that are given annually
Okay.
by the Cochon Foundation, which was started in 2006 in South Korea by an owner of a pharmaceutical company who was very interested in helping poor people to get affordable TB drugs. So then they said the price from his foundation must be about TB.
Okay.
So every year they choose a theme.
Okay.
Sometimes it's about researchers, scientists, countries, but this year's theme was about political leadership in the fight against TB. So that's the first prize which I got individually. The second one, I got it jointly with a member of parliament from the UK,
Okay.
the Right Honourable Nick Herbert, because together with him, we are co-chairing the global TB caucus of members of parliament around the whole world. Yes, TB is a problem, let me tell you, but a problem that nobody notices. So we wanted politicians, members of parliament, everybody to stop talking about all added together.
Sure.
Add all of those together and check the number, polio, the number of people they killed.
Sure.
TB is more than them.
Can we talk about mental health a bit?
Yeah.
It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I just want to know what exciting things has your department been doing, just to to give more awareness to the plight.
Well, this month, today, we're working more on cancer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But mental health, you are aware, that is a big problem and it's exploding, But just as all the other non-communicable diseases like cancer, so today we're launching a cancer campaign.
Okay.
But mental health is something that is problematic around the whole world. Very unfortunately in South Africa, it announced itself in an extremely negative, undesirable way. The life is the main saga, which I don't want to wish on any nation. But issues of mental health are actually global. In fact, in July, at the International AIDS Conference, the Minister of Health from Canada approached me and said they want to form an international front on mental health.
Wow.
Of ministers of health who must influence the United Nations. And they wanted me to join. And she invited me because the Minister of UK has already joined. Yes, they had a session, I think it's in September, about mental health. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But it's a big problem. Well, the problem with mental health is we think about somebody who is in chains and all that.
Yes.
Yes, you can suffer mental health without being that. Yes. Among us here in this room, there are people with mental health.
No, of course, of course.
Right.
And the department, what are they doing about it?
Look, we held a summit in 2013, a mental health summit, in which we also involved invited the World Health Organization, where we developed a declaration called Ekurhuleni Declaration, because the summit was held in Ekurhuleni. We actually put up the things that must be done.
Brilliant.
But our biggest problem became finances. And I must confess, all over the world, mental health is the last on the line when the world budgets for health, as it is the last in the line on family issues too. And that's what we need to bring to an end. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen. Yeah. So we are trying to do certain things, like, for instance, let's look at the number of psychiatrists in the country. There are 700, but 525 are in the private sector, saving 16% of the population. Only 175 are in the public sector, including lecturers of psychiatry at our universities. They are only 175. So you can see the big
astounding.
It is astounding, but remember, most of you do not understand why I'm fighting for NHI. We are running a healthcare system in South Africa where 16% of the population spends 4.5% of the gross domestic product on their health.
Right.
And 84% of the population spends only 4.2% of the gross domestic product on their health. These figures are stunning, but yet when you talk about changing them, people believe, no, this minister hates private health and all that. All I am saying is that we need a healthcare system that will serve all South Africans
100%.
where this gross inequality is not allowed, because we are the only country, and I'm emphasizing, we are the only country where such gross inequalities exist. There is no country anywhere on earth that has got as gross. In fact, if you want to know what inequality means in the whole world, you come to health sector in South Africa. You'll know the meaning of inequality.
So let's unpack how the NHI or any of the interventions your department is putting into place or proposing will assist with alleviating the issues that currently stand in the public health sector. People complain about waiting for long periods of time, poor management, for example, unclean services, you know, Ntate Mzwaledi, even the attitudes of, you know, medical staff that are so negative. So what is being put into place to address and remedy some of these issues?
Well, look, sometimes you mention those issues as if they are primary when they are consequences of this inequality. Look, anyway, everywhere in the world, human beings follow money. It's a law of nature. When people migrate, they migrate to richer countries. We have never heard of any mass migration to a poor country.
Sure.
When people migrate, it's because the country they are migrating is better than theirs. Now, when you have got this gross inequality in the healthcare system, the skills, these doctors, they migrate to where the money is. And it's not only doctors, all the skilled people who can manage finances, who can manage institutions, etc.
So a brain drain.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
There's a big brain drain in the public sector. I mean, look, I gave you percentages now.
Yes.
Who are these 16% of the population? It's doctors, it's nurses, it's teachers, it's police, it's the army, it's members of parliament, it's judges, CEOs of companies, directors, managers, trade union leaders. Who is left? That's the cream. Those are the people who lead South Africa. The other 84% are people who make South Africa tick, but they are the masses. But when they are left on their own, devoid of all those skills, what do you think will happen? Of course, you'll find this mismanagement. And I'm not going to deny it.
Sure.
It's there. In fact, we did an audit in 2010 of 6 standards in the public healthcare system. Cleanliness, infection control, safety and security of staff and patients, drug stock outs, the waiting times, which you're talking about, you know, and attitude of staff, There was 80% failure in the attitude of staff. That's why we came to establish the Office of Health Standard Compliance. We said then there must be an office that is there measuring these standards. And we then put an UMBAD person. And people ask me, what is this health UMBAD? We have never heard about it. I said, it's a public protector of health.
For health.
You need somebody, and you saw the public protector of health in action in their life is domain, where he brooks no nonsense to change the attitude of people because they must know something is going to happen. In the past, where do they report? To the media. Then you are headlines for only 1 week or 5 days or 3 days. After that, there's a new topic, it changes. But what happened to you? So the UMBAD doesn't work like that.
Brilliant.
There are consequences. And we put that. Then the Office of Standard Compliance, we put the standard high so that people must struggle to go up there and reach them. And people, when they criticize us, it's as if the standards were set by somebody and we couldn't reach them. We could have set them low and got an 80% pass, by the way. We decided, no, let the standard be up there so that each and every clinic and hospital must struggle to be up there, meaning in the beginning, only few will reach there.
Right.
But eventually, all of them will know that that's where we need to reach. If we set the standard low here, we will have passed and show to people that, no, we have, many clinics have passed there of high standard, when actually we have passed something that is, it's like passing the simplest exam and saying, no, I produce distinctions and everybody will who's a country.
Well, there are other departments that have done that, but we won't get into that. What we will get into is some of the tweets that have come through with questions for you. So can we see the first question? I don't know if Dr. Musa, do you want to take this one?
So it says, I have a 65-year-old granny, and every time she visits the government clinic, she spends the whole day in the line. Sometimes she has to come back the next day to stand in line again before she gets help. How are you going to make sure that waiting times are reduced? This is too much.
Good question. He's very right. It's one of the things that give me sleepless nights. But before telling you, I want you to consider these facts. In 2004, we had 400,000 South Africans on ARVs. Today, there are 4.2 million.
Wow.
There's no way the number of nurses or facilities or doctors will have increased. We are number one in the whole world on the issue of HIV and AIDS. The biggest number of people who are infected by this virus are South Africans. And so the biggest number of people who are on ARVs are South Africans. They increased tenfold within a decade. That's number one. Today, I was talking about the explosion of non-communicable diseases, cancer, diabetes, etc. Now, the public hospital serves 84% of these people. In the private sector, it's only 16%. Like these 4.2 million people on ARVs, 200,000 are in the private sector. 4 million are in the public sector. But if you check the number of specialists, doctors...
sorry to interrupt you. How do we get more people to get into the health departments and to study health and to get into these careers, doctors and nursing? How do we do that?
And I think also pay them. I mean, it's nice to have people that have studied, but if you're unemployed, it makes it tricky because the budgets don't allow it.
Yeah, how do we fix it?
Precisely. That's why we must first fix the budget through equality.
Okay.
Our argument is there's enough money for health in South Africa, but it's used for few people. In fact, the World Health Organization has produced a graph, which I can show you if you want. And they've titled it South Africa as an outlier. An outlier, I don't know how to... Outlier, you are doing something which other people are not doing. Because they calculated the amount of money spent in the, the proportion of money spent in the private sector, as a portion of the whole expenditure of health.
Yeah.
And they found that number one is South Africa.
I think we need an hour with you.
Yes, at 42%. We have even overtaken the United States, which openly talks about market economics. And the average in the world is only 4%. So that gross inequality. In fact, the World Organization said we are the only country in the whole planet where so much money is spent for the whole of so few people.
And now we're out of time, unfortunately. Thank you for all of your insights. And thank you. I think that there are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about what is happening in the various departments. So when we have a little bit more insight, it helps us understand more. Dr. Aaron Mzwaledi, everybody.
Pleasure.
Thank you. All right, we take a quick break now. This is Trending SA on SABC3.